Maverick traders, welcome out to your market roundup for April 22nd. Nice to be here with you. We're always going to look at the markets from a top-down approach, talk about what news is out there, anything out of the Fed, economic reports, earnings reports, etc. We're going to look at the market internals, look at sector rotations, and then always highlight our very best bullish, sideways, and bearish ideas.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional stock and option traders. Maverick Trading is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
So today we had a little bit of a bounce back day in that markets obviously had sold off for the prior week. It was the worst week of 2024, and then we start off the week on a brighter note with Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ, Russell all up in the neighborhood of 1%. Oil was flat, but gold was quite a story. It sold off 2.5%, and that sell-off was the worst day for the yellow metals. So gold selling off, the VIX plummeted today, markets bounce back. It suggests that the markets believe that there is stabilization, that there is a short-term low or at least a consolidation coming. The markets are basically expecting more bullishness. Tesla, that's not the case. That it fell again. Tesla reports earnings this week, and they're selling that stock off hard in anticipation of earnings. Advanced decline line, about 70% of stocks advancing, but notice the 50 MA. We've clearly moved into a more bearish trend with over 70% of stocks downward trending and below their 50 MA. So as we take a closer look at the S&P, we've broken the 50 period moving average and we've sold off a little bit further. Now, does it just continue to collapse from here? Do we get some back and fill? Again, the VIX, if you look at market bottoms and you look at the VIX, usually the VIX will have a lot of candles like this at stock market bottoms. Remember, the VIX is a gauge of how much it costs to insure, how much fear is in the market. And when the VIX reverses hard with huge red candles, go and look at where the market bottoms are, and it's often correlated with that. Now, do I know that the market has bottomed here? No, but using certain gauges and things, when the VIX turns sharply and aggressively lower like it has here from Friday into Monday trading session, it is worth noting. Now, if we look at the NASDAQ, same thing, a bit of a bounce back day. This is a bullish harami. It comes from Japanese candlesticks. Harami is body within or pregnant. So you can see how the little bullish body here fits inside of the bearishness, and it's not a huge reversal signal. It's a little candlestick reversal signal that signals, again, consolidation or at least a minor bounce is likely if you follow Japanese candlestick reversals. Now, for today, Tesla violently lower, United Health, Verizon, there are some pockets of red. Of course, Nvidia with a sharp bounce back day, tech and financials and these certain areas of the market did pretty well. Worth noting again that gold was somewhat rallying in anticipation of some economic uncertainty and probably geopolitical risks and wars and all those things. Today the market seemed to take a deep breath and say, okay, we think the short-term worst is behind us. We'll see if the market's right about that. So clearly we've rolled over. You can see the downward sloping effect that's starting in the 20 period moving average, and we're not too far off of a bearish cross where that 20 will cross below the 50. That will likely take place here in the next few trading sessions because, again, it's going to continue to input lower prices and get rid of higher prices in the average. So that should just continue to slope down, and we should have a bearish cross coming up in the not too distant future. Now, if we look at bulls, neutrals, and bears, there's just certainly a lot more bearish candidates. We're in more of a downward trend. On the bullish side, I'm going to highlight some airlines, which actually looks like one of the better industries out there. Gold, I think, is tired, and we'll touch on that more. And then as far as bearish ideas, you got a lot of things that are downward trending and will look really good on some bear rallies. So let's start with the bull. Here we've got Delta. You can see the consolidation, the ascending triangle type, and a new closing high. So you might say, well, we haven't broken above the wicks. Well, it depends on how you draw your resistance line, but we're at a new closing high. Many people will look at that as the breakout. If you want it to get above the wicks, fine. Ultimately, Delta looks pretty solid here in terms of more upside potential, and the airline charts just look pretty darn good. If we look at gold, this is something that I highlighted a few days back. I'm not a big Twitter guy, but I did tweet about this one. It stood out. Gold just had an enormous volume, big reversal, and my suggestion was expect gold to go sideways and correct back down in price. Basically, what do you do when you're exhausted? You take a rest, right? Gold was exhausted. These are the signals of it, and it's taking a breather. I don't know that there's a ton of downside. I don't think there's much upside here. It's just sort of a likely candidate to chop around in this general area for the next couple of weeks. And then finally, as far as bearish candidates, you might say, well, this is already oversold. Oversold is usually just more downside is coming, right? I don't call it overbought and oversold. I call it going into overdrive. Usually things that are oversold sell off harder before they finally recover and bounce back and such. So AMT, it's down a lot, but it's low basing. Push comes to shove, this will probably reverse to the downside. So I don't know that we're at a trigger point here, but as it continues to weaken, you can play this for a little bit more short-term downside continuation in my estimation. Now, consolidations seem pretty likely here in the markets. Again, VIX plummeting, gold prices pulling back. This suggests that some of those fears the market is sniffing out, that maybe the worst case scenarios are not likely. And, whether it's the outbreak in terms of wars and things between Iran and Israel or whatever it is, the market did take a bit of a breath of relief and suggests that we're not going to continue to sell off in the same fashion we did last week. We've got core PCE on Friday, a huge amount of earnings. We've got Boeing and Caterpillar and Chevron, GE, Google, IBM, Intel, Pepsi, Meta, formerly known as Facebook, Microsoft, Tesla, Visa, and ExxonMobil. And there are even more than that list. These are just some big names to pay attention to. Hope you enjoyed the market roundup. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you next time.